Hey guys, this is King3 bringing you the live commentary, Forza 5, and I am following up with my suggestions around which cars to be using for multiplayer and for career racing. This is going to be for Class B. Class B is a really interesting class, and if you followed my, let me give you a little bit of background. If you followed my Class C recommendations for multiplayer and for career racing, you'll see that I use three different type of tracks. I use the handling track. I used a handling track that still requires some speed to the car, and then just overall speed tracks outside of the oval. I'm talking like the old Barth, the old 24 Hours in Le Mans, stuff that has really long straightaways that if you don't have a fast enough car, you will lose multiplayer because everybody passes you in those straightaways, even though you have better handling than them. So those are the three type of classes. Now, when we were talking about Class C, the list was a little bit smaller. There was a lot more very specific cars that we used when we went through the C class. So there wasn't a lot of variety because obviously between D and C there isn't as many cars as if you go up to B. There's just more cars to choose from at that point. In the last one we talked about the BMW, we talked about the GT86, we talked about the Integra, talked about the Civic, the RX-7, and how they fit into the roles a little bit. Now I want to bump up to Class B. Class B is really interesting because you can choose a lot of different cars and be very competitive in multiplayer and career racing. There are some that are very dominant if you look at the leaderboards. Some are easy to drive, some are not easy to drive. It just depends on what you're comfortable with. So let me just get this started real quick with the cars that I believe that you can do really well lapping, multiplayer, and career racing in the short handling tracks. The first one is going to be the Lancia Delta 37. Let me see if I can find that thing. There we go. Lancia 37 Stratdale. This one is a very good handling car. As you can see, it has a handling of 6.0. Still has really good acceleration, has a really good launch. It is a rear-wheel drive, so you have to make sure you put the wing on it, make sure you get plenty of traction for the short courses. But that one's a really good handling track. The Miata MX-5 is something that I showed you in Class C that would also run really well in Class B if you choose to take it up there. It's a very good handling car, gives you a little bit more speed. You see the handling is a little bit lower, but the speed's a little bit higher. Generally a little bit longer sweeping turns is where this works really well. Still a shorter track car though. The Honda S2000, also another one of those that has really good handling, but also pulls a little bit of speed into those handling tracks. These start to kind of cross into the second track I was talking about, where it's still kind of a handling track, but it's still very much a handling track, but you still can use the advantage of some of the straightaways for the speed cars. The one that is truly for handling is this first Lancia. Now crossing over into the next type of tracks is which I'm calling the handling, but still you need some speed to be competitive as well, is, believe it or not, this Toyota. This Toyota Sprinter is a really good C-class car as well, but you really start to see it come into its own in the B class because now you can put all the handling parts on. You can put the tire compound on. It has speed. It continues to handle pretty well, but you'll see that the acceleration is where this does really well. So when you come up to a long straightaway, you get up to speed faster. Even though it's not the fastest car, it still gets up to that speed a lot quicker because of the acceleration. And then, of course, with the launch as well, if you're going to be taking off a multiplayer from a dead stop, which I think that happens in career. I think that pretty much happens on everything unless you're trying to lap. This is where it really works with other traffic really, really well. The Lancia Delta 4 is one that I also showed you in the previous class, and it was pretty good in Class C. It didn't handle quite as well. It was kind of loose. Now in Class B, you gain a little bit more tire traction. It's a little bit quicker. But if you look at the numbers here, I'm looking at the acceleration number and the launch number. So multiplayer, if you start anywhere in the middle of the pack or there's only 8 racers on there, if you are the only one with this car all-wheel drive, it jets off the line. So you get out in front. Now, it's not the fastest car and it's not the best handling car, but it's really hard for other players to pass you. Even though they can handle you a little bit in the turns, you're so much faster out of the exit of the turns and down that next straightaway that even if they start to kind of get up on your bumper, you pull away again, and then they have to do it all over again in the next turn. So again, that makes it a really good multiplayer car. This also is a car that turns into kind of that really long straightaway car. The top speed's not there, but you can gear it to make a better top speed. You'll lose some of your acceleration, but it will go pretty fast top speed. But when it comes to going to a long race like the Old Barth and stuff like that, where there's that super long straightaway and you need to be able to max out your car, there's really a couple cars that stick out in those areas, and this is going to be dominating multiplayer, career, track times, everything. But this Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing Coupe is a car that has a really good top speed, gets up to top speed quickly, maxes it out, and then you're just kind of running away from people while people are still accelerating. This one still allows for a little bit of handling. It's a little bit heavier. I'm sorry, this one's not the heavy one. So it still handles a little bit. You can see the handling number is 5.0, which is not great. But in a lot of times when you're on those bigger tracks, it's not precise driving necessarily. You just need to make decent turns to get your power back down to start accelerating your next piece. So you can see 512 horsepower has quite a bit, and the top speed is pretty fast on that one. The other one that I found that I actually have not drove, but I just bought that and put the put a B class on it, just downloaded something real quick. And this is for oval only. You could probably use this as the Mercedes does as well on the Old Barth tracks and stuff like that. But this is a really good oval car. Good acceleration, has a really good top speed, and it holds the lines pretty well. So you're able to keep it going. This one is the heavier one. You can see 4,000 pounds. So it's not one that's going to accelerate overly fast, but you will keep it on the ground, and you'll keep control, and you'll make good consistent lap times time after time and time again. So if you want to attack the oval with this car, I would make that a suggestion for that. So that kind of concludes the B-class cars for the 3 different type of tracks for multiplayer. I don't have all of my tunes out here for these cars. You'll be able to download the Honda S2000, the Miata, for the turning tracks. I did not finish up the Lancia Delta at this point, so I'll have to get a download tune on for that. Look for that in the future. And then I'm going to start tweaking the Mercedes 300 SL. That required an engine change and aspiration change as well. So I'll have those parts out there. So I'll probably come back out and do one just on the Mercedes 300 SL so you can see what my parts are, and then also what the settings are so you can do that and then make any changes you feel necessary going forward. All right, that concludes the B class. I'll be doing the A class here in the next week. Look for that as well. And I hope this helps you out. Good luck, guys. Talk to you later.